Hi everyone, my name is Milton, and I'm very excited to welcome you to the first vlog for the Relay. I'm super excited to announce today our artists for week 1 who will be starting everything off, Derek Chan and Robert Leveroos. Derek I've known and worked with since we went to school together at Simon Fraser University. He's a playwright, director, performer, translator, producer, and co-artistic director of Rice and Beans Theatre, along with Pedro Tremale. He's an artist in residence with the National Arts Centre English Theatre, working on Yellow Objects, a piece about the ongoing 2019-2020 anti-extradition bill protests in Hong Kong. Second, Robert Leveroos is a multidisciplinary artist who works with live art, animation, and handmade objects. Now, he's no stranger to the culture, having served 3 seasons as the youth program manager, and he's trained with the Children's Theatre Company in Minneapolis, Minnesota, graduated from the National Theatre School of Canada, and he holds an MFA in Interdisciplinary Studies from Simon Fraser University. Rob also works under the moniker Macromatter. Thank you so much for joining us as our Week 1 artists. Now, Derek, we've worked together a lot. I also know that you've really brought translation into your practice. So I just thought I'd ask, many people assume that translation and performance is kind of like a one-to-one process, which kind of forgoes the complexity and the kind of creative gymnastics that are involved with presenting ideas within any given context, whether cultural or class or otherwise. In what way do you feel your process of translation has etched itself into the aesthetic practice that you have?
Not to go into, a history lesson, like Hong Kong has always been neither here nor there. And then with me, moving to this land by myself and still not quite consider myself Canadian, but not quite a Hong Konger anymore because I haven't been there in a few years. So it's this state of loss almost, like the need for arrival. I think that is what translating has brought out in me.
Shifting now over to Rob, my question for you is, whether it's using miniatures filmed by camera or a full rigged stage, your attention to scale has always been a key component of your scenographic practice. But what is even more consistent than that is your desire to frame from very particular angles. So how do your choices of angles in your scenography unpack the psychological or the perceptual for audiences and spectators?
I'm really interested in that wiggle zone between what is seen on a stage and what's just outside of that. You get an image on stage that's being created, full well knowing that there's something just off stage that is helping to produce that image. Your imagination gets to fill in how that is done. Mm-hmm. So I've always been interested in the trickery and the stagecraft of performance.
So I'd ask you to tell me one thing about the world that you're creating, and then another thing about what you've been thinking about in terms of moving performance practice online.
We're directed to think of mobile spaces and or temporary spaces and permanent or stationary spaces.
Yeah, I'm really excited about the worlds that we've discovered. I don't know that I'll say too much about what they are, but the like our fixed space is a found environment that I think is pretty fun. And just kind of going back to the question that you were asking about, like what does this angle allow? We've really been able to go into the geometry of this space in a really interesting way, and discover this environment that is very familiar, that there are such like beautiful and complex and like symmetrical geometries going on within it that I think are really fun to explore.
It's a very personal space too, actually, and it's a personal space that exist in our everyday lives, but we don't often think about a lot or pay attention to. At least for me, you know. I don't know how much we should divulge.
Oh no, but it's no. I'm like in the thick of it, so I don't want to accidentally.
I don't want to be too transparent about.
Something you've been thinking about in moving performance practice online.
The vast difference between performance tempo and video tempo. We often think of like the first 7 minutes of a performance as this like kind of decompressing time where you're kind of letting your audience settle into it. In video, if you haven't like got them in the first 7 minutes, they're gone. So I think that's something there's a lot of opportunity in that.
How do we hold each other's attention, and with slowness, with, like you said earlier, Rob, with what's not being seen, with what's implied by the design.
And
Dan,
there
there we go. That's
you know. I'm so excited for the two of you to kick things off. I'm excited for all the things you're going to throw to the weeks later on as well. So I've taken up more than enough of your time. I'm going to let you both get back to creation. So thank you so much for joining us as Week 1 artists. For everyone else watching, we'll see you next Thursday for episode 1 of The Relay. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Milton.
Thank you.